That's the first time I ever did that, and I wasn't just my hand over the... Finally.
All right. Well, if you want to do the intro, I will adjust this.
Cool. Well, hello there to the YouTube audience.
Hold
hello,
on.
Junior Archaeologist, and welcome.
Start the intro over again.
No.
We'll get this down for anybody watching live.
Lies. That's gonna be part of the charm. Oh, cool. We've got music now?
No, we're not supposed to.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
It's a good thing the YouTube audience can't hear that, because
I know.
that'd be a copyright strike.
I know.
Was that some kind of intro music for some other podcast?
No, it's for this one.
Oh, cool.
I sent it to you. You've heard it. No, you should have. We'll play it later.
Yeah.
Okay, episode 5. You call this...
Archaeology. Do you really, though? Hello,
Nice.
Junior Archaeologist. Or at least hello, YouTube audience, and whoever's been watching.
Yeah, how's it going?
Yeah. Oh, and hello, YouTube live audience.
Nice. And hello to the podcast audience. You're doing YouTube live right now?
No.
Okay.
No.
Hello to the podcast audience. I'm hoping this shows up on our page here shortly, so I can monitor.
There you go.
There we go.
Don't forget to say hello.
Yeah, if you're watching this, just to let you know, and you're watching this live, go ahead and say hello. Even if you're watching this recorded, you can still leave comments on the Facebook recording, and it will time those to wherever you. It will insert those comments where you're watching the video. It's actually pretty good.
But that also freaks me out, because sometimes I just want to see the comments and don't want to like watch the whole video.
Yeah, totally. No. So anyway, it's July 21st. This is episode 5 of You Call This Archaeology.
That's really quick.
And Richie, what'd you do this week that you call archaeology?
Oh my god.
But wait, first.
Yeah?
We have...
Oh, we do.
We have coffee drinks, cold brew, and I don't know what that is.
Oh, this is just a mocha.
Nice.
And
mocha.
they probably can't read this, but that says coffee bar.
Coffee bar. We're sponsored by Coffee Bar. No, we're not. But we should be. And also, we've also got a nice glass of cold sake going on here. Yep. So
world's greatest?
World's finest, I think it said. The finest sake. Yeah, I know. It's good stuff.
We should actually try soju next time.
It's good stuff, man. I like cold, unfiltered sake. The cloudy stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really tasty.
Oh, and you're supposed to be drinking these out of, like, wooden cups.
I know.
Or boxes
we don't have
or
those.
whatever.
This is all we had. Also, just in case this is audible, I should probably plug in this microphone.
What?
In case this is audible, the audio for Facebook is about to get way better. But in case this is audible, we have a fan running because it's 100 million degrees in this room.
Yeah, and we always look sweaty. Well, at least on the YouTube side, we look sweaty.
Okay, well, hopefully for the Facebook audience, this microphone right here, which is sitting in our faces for a reason, is now picking us up.
Oh, and
so.
I just saw you adding that thing. Neat. I just saw it shaking. Cool.
Yeah. So, and now I'm pointing to it. We're watching ourselves on a delay here. It's pretty crazy. Anyway, so yeah, welcome, and so let's get to our week.
Yeah.
You know what happened. I know I did a lot of stuff this week. What'd you do this week?
I sort of did a lot of stuff this week. Some of it related to archaeology, and some of it not. Some of it related to my day job. I'm not gonna go on a rant about that right away. I will say though that I saw an ad for a company that we know the dude who owns it, or we know of him.
Right.
Yeah, or at least I know of him. I've never met him. He supposedly quit before I got there.
Mm-hmm.
Or before either of us got there.
So we've got some field work coming up.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
And thankfully he is willing to work with my schedule. Supposedly, we'll see. So
Well,
those things I've learned in archaeology: don't believe anything until your boots on the ground.
That's right.
Ever.
That's right.
Ever.
And I guess to go along with that, you never really know how your field season's going to go until you're in the middle of it.
Yeah.
You know, you don't know what's going to happen. Because, for example, I don't know if you know any details about when this field work might start. No. I mean, Richie is going to be starting next week. What day? Is it
Monday.
like Monday?
Yeah.
Monday next week. I got to put that on my calendar because like 3 days away.
Oh.
Monday next week with the Archaeology Podcast Network. He's going to be... He's going to be working in here at the Reno Collective with me for the first week, for, I guess, Monday through Friday probably. Yeah. And then, we're going to be getting him up to speed with editing and posting, and he's already does all this stuff, but just getting my workflow down and the horrible ways that I do things here. Making sure he does all that wrong or right, depending on how you look at it. And then that'll free me up to focus on a bunch of other things, like, for example, we started our membership, which I'm not. This isn't like the Archaeology Podcast Network podcast, so I don't want to try to make it that. Like this week in the Archaeology Podcast Network. Although I do want that show, but we don't have it yet. But since I have a voice here, I figure. And again, I'm looking back this way because we have the recording going on, and I make sure everything's still on the up and up.
Why is it red, by the way? Didn't it used to be green?
It picks a color, and I can change the color. Oh. So whatever color it decided to pick today is the color it picked. When you stop recording, I think it'll change color again. Anyway, and I think I'm going to turn myself up.
Oh, do it.
Just a little bit here over on this side and over on this side, just to make that waveform a little bigger there. I'll adjust it later, but...
All right, wait, which one am I?
You're the one on the bottom.
Oh, good.
So, anyway, so Richie's going to be helping out because that'll help me. We do have a handful of professional members now, and professional members, one of the perks you get as a professional member is T-shirt, coffee mug, and stickers for all the shows.
Neat.
Now, I haven't created any of that yet, but I've done the research and I know where to get the stickers. I just have to place the order. I'm going to do some tweaks to the stickers themselves, and so they can be a little more sticker friendly rather than podcast icon friendly. So just make some small tweaks. Yeah,
I've actually got working on that as well for my end, for something else.
So that's probably what I'm going to be focusing on once I get Richie dialed in with doing some editing. So I can do that, and then also the coffee mugs. I already know. I had figured out where I'm going to get those. But then I said, you know what? I don't want to skimp on quality at all. I mean, it's hard to fuck up a coffee mug. Sorry, but you can. I'm very particular about my coffee mugs.
Really?
My favorite mugs are those. It's kind of I don't want to say it's a new style because I have some older ones like this, but it's a style you don't see too often. But it's got really thick walls, and they're kind of concave, just a little bit on the sides.
Ooh.
And they got kind of a thick handle.
Yeah.
Those are my favorite mugs. So I've got to find a place that will do those. The one I have for the APN, I actually put a picture up with an espresso machine earlier this week, and I had a few people say, "Are those the coffee mugs we get with the professional membership?" And I'm like,
yes.
No.
Oh, no?
That's probably what they'll look like, with the logo and stuff. But that particular mug I got from, what's the name of that place? I got from the Vistaprint, where everybody gets business cards.
Yeah.
So I did APN business cards, and they always throw in 25 screens before you order that say, hey, your logo would look good on a mouse pad, or a thing, or a this and a that, and here's a Speedo and a thong. But, they showed coffee mug, and it was only an extra $10 to just get one coffee mug with the business card logo that I put on it. So I did it. So that's the only mug in existence like that, and probably always will ever be, because the ones I get will probably not be from Vistaprint. They'll be from somebody else. So either way, there will be mugs, and people will be able to see them. And thanks, Peter, for putting the heart on our view here. So that's pretty cool.
And someone did comment on our video last week, but we didn't say hello to him. So hello, Ron.
Oh, nice. How's it going, Ron?
Yeah. And he knows who he is. He's the one who commented, you should only see my hat, because he's one of my Facebook friends. But, speaking of mugs, it's crazy. I always forget the company, but there's when you're doing those trash dumps, you always find the nice thick mugs and stuff. Mm-hmm. I always, oh my god.
Who is that?
Well, the thing is, the only reason I'm pointing that out is because I bought some mugs from the 30s or 40s. They were phone company mugs.
Nice.
I think I was gonna use them for coffee, but they're this tall and this big around, and and they're super thick and well made. So I just use them as aperitif cups.
Nice.
So I want to pour myself a glass of port.
Nice. That'd be perfect. Yeah, it's not enough for coffee.
No.
You need a bigger mug for coffee.
Unless you were in the 30s and 40s and just a bottomless cup.
Right. Nice. Well, that's really cool. Yeah. I love a good thick mug for coffee, especially in the wintertime. And I just I have short, stubby fingers. Yeah. And I don't know, I just don't like the mugs with the wiry handles on them. I like to be able to get my hands around it, And,
what was cool? Remember when we were checking out the hotel and there was that, what was it? Was it the Barrick mug that was sitting there on the counter and wanted to steal?
That's right. Yeah, somebody
left
there.
Mine?
Yeah.
That was so nice. It was gold plated.
I know. Of course it is. Yeah.
It's Barrick.
Yeah. I gotta say before I forget, because I forgot to tell Richie this. So, like we said, we're at the Reno Collective here in Reno, hence the name. And Richie's already becoming well known here because I was talking to somebody. Who was I talking to? I was having a short meeting here with just some of the owners here, and because we're developing a new podcast membership for the Reno Collective for people that want to come in and podcast and use the studio but don't want the full thing.
But they're like, at the pay.
Yeah, and but they're like, yeah, who's that guy that you have coming in with the hat? And he's like, he looks like he just came. Is he an archaeologist? Because he looks like he just came in from field work. And I was like, that's how he always looks.
See,
I was like, actually, he dresses up a little more for field work usually.
See,
Richie dresses down when he comes out of the field.
See?
Like, you'll never see a T-shirt from Richie in the field,
unless it's after hours.
Right. So the man in the hat is becoming well known at the Reno Collective.
And don't forget, Joan was freaked out I was wearing a tie.
Oh my God! Richie shows up to our project on a mine a couple weeks ago with a tie on.
Yeah,
it was great.
Always.
Yeah, it was great.
I mean, that's like a tradition, but Joan wanted me to take it off, and that's not happening.
Well, she just thought you were uncomfortable. She's like, you don't need to wear a tie. You know, it's too hot out for that. You know? Yeah. Even though it was 20 degrees cooler than it was in the town we were staying in. So.
Yeah, that was a good breakfast place. I forget the name of it. I want to throw out a shout out to it, but I totally forget the name of it.
Wasn't it McAdoo's?
It was.
McAdoo's, yeah.
In Elko, Nevada.
Elko, Nevada, downtown. Right across the street, you can have your breakfast, and then you can go over to Carlin Trend and look through the live forestry supply catalog.
You know what's crazy? Every time someone comes to the bookstore, you know, looking at geology stuff, or for like rock hounding stuff, I always sent them to I always said, there's this cool place in Elko, and they like, where? And I'd look it up on YouTube, on Google, and I sent them to the wrong place.
Oh my God.
All the time.
Every time. Nice. Yeah, Carlin Trend. It's a weird name. I mean, it's named after the gold. I believe it's the gold trend called the Carlin Trend. It goes through Carlin, Nevada. That's what Barrick Goldstrike and Newmont.
Really?
Yeah. What was the name of the Newmont mine out there?
I thought Newmont was Goldstrike, or is it?
No, Barrick is Goldstrike, and it's just to the north of Newmont. Then there's Newmont Gold Quarry, and then there's to the south of there a mine I've worked on called the Emigrant Mine, and then the Rain Mine are down there too. Those are all in the same vein. That's called the Carlin Trend.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and that's where the name of the mining store comes from.
Oh my God, the other day I was talking to someone in the bookstore because they were buying a book on Big Bear Lake.
Yeah.
And so I was telling them how people occasionally want to reopen Lucky Baldwin's mine down there.
Lucky Baldwin?
Yeah, he's the dude, he's the dude who struck it rich in Virginia City.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where he got his, he's the silver bear out there.
Yeah.
And then he took all his money, stupidly, went down to Big Bear Lake and opened up the largest stamp mill in that whole part of the country. Like, you could hear it across the whole valley.
Jesus.
And the problem is, it's not that there isn't gold down there.
Yeah.
It's the fact that it's a very active seismic zone.
Oh.
So every vein, you hit a vein and then it runs out because it's shifted due to earthquakes. Right. So everyone who's tried to reopen it has gone bankrupt. And as far as I know, the last time someone tried to reopen it was 2008 or 9.
Really?
Yeah, like they keep, like literally, for over 100 years, they've been trying to make that thing work. And it's never going to work.
Gold is always a big lure.
See?
You know, and if you got enough money, you're going to go try to find it.
Or if you don't have enough money.
But these days, to even mine, you have to have enough money. You know, just to get out there and find enough these days.
Well, I mean, in Holcomb Valley is what it's called.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go there are little placer prospect pits all over the place because in the 30s, like, people were just like starving, so they decided to throw everything in their car, go up there and go gold mining. So literally there are holes through the whole valley where people, because obviously this is before it became a no, it's not a national park. It's like a national forest. I think, like right below a national park.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's part of the Forest Service system.
Right. Yeah. Probably a forest then. You know, that reminds me. It just because I've been looking at some of this stuff lately on the Arc 365 podcast this week. I actually found a really good historic context for Nevada that I've actually seen before. I remember seeing that before as a resource, but I just doing some current research, I found it again. Yeah. And it talks about early exploration and early settlement into Nevada from the early mid 1800s on. Yeah. And it mentioned a couple things, but I'm saying that because I was interested in finding stuff like that because my wife and I went to Bodie, California for the first time last weekend. And
really? That's the first time ever?
First time. I've been in Nevada, I mean, off and on a little bit, but mostly since 2009 or 10.
Yeah, same here.
Kind of 2008-ish was our first project, but then we were gone for a little while. And never went down to Bodie. And Bodie is a fantastic old ghost town. You've been there, I assume. And
I've driven by it.
You can't drive by Bodie. Well, you can.
See?
But you have to go through it to go by it. You've been down 395. That doesn't count.
Yes, it does.
I've been by it. You're getting on my shit for not going, and you've just been down 395? Anyway, Bodie is south of here by about 2-3 hours. Well, about 2 hours, I guess. And then you have to go off of Highway 395 to the east by, I think it's like 7 to 10 miles.
Really?
Yeah, it's a little ways out there. Don't take your cabriolet out there because it's paved and then it turns into not super well maintained gravel until you get out to the town. Now, if you're going out there, one thing we might do again sometime because we got out there and it was super packed, and they've got a gate at the front. It's a California State Historic Site. They charge like $10 to get in. Yeah, but you can walk around, and it's something like 10% of the town is left after the fire in, I think it was 1932. Yeah. There used to be 8,500 residents there.
Really?
It was a massive town. You look at the old pictures, it was a massive town. So there used to be all these residents, and now it's just an old historic ghost town, basically. The mine complex is all still there.
Yeah.
A lot of the residential buildings are there, the stores, you know, a bunch of stuff is really, really cool. You can walk around, you can go inside some of these buildings. And they have a lot of them set up where you can just look in through the windows and see cool things. Neat. Well, we were going to eat lunch there right after that, but it was so packed with people. We're like, let's just keep on, because the road that Bodie is on continues on through the mountains to the east. So we just drove, and we were going to find a spot to stop. Before we knew it, we'd gone like 45 minutes down this road. We were in this deep canyon.
Oh, is that where you got the video?
Yeah, tons of vegetation, tons of water through there. We had a couple of hairy bridge crossings, and then one where the bridge was completely out, and you had to go across the water. Yeah. And the video that Richie's talking about doesn't look too bad, because people were talking about the water. They're like, "Oh, that's nothing for water," but it wasn't the water that was. I was on the other side. I was going down this like rocky, slippery embankment thing that you couldn't really tell from the video. So I was like, "All right, whatever." Anyway, we drove all the way through there.
Yeah.
And then ended up on the valley that's on the west side of the mountains that border Walker Lake near Hawthorne.
Oh, neat.
So you can go all the way through there and go to Hawthorne and then come up 95. But we decided to take the road up that valley, and it's just in the middle of nowhere. There's a couple houses out there too.
Really?
And they live. I think they get there from Yerington. You come south out of Yerington, you end up in there. But we also went by something that was kind of cool to see from the ground, because I've seen it from the air. It's officially known as the Flying M Ranch, I think, but it's the Hilton Ranch. All the pilots know it as the Hilton Ranch. The Hilton family of Hilton Hotels owns this massive ranch. And the way you can tell it's not a normal ranch is there's several really fancy jets parked there, and they've got a 10,000-foot paved runway.
That's cool.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it's in the middle of nowhere. They never drive there. I mean, you can't drive there on a paved road. They only fly in.
Can I say this now?
Yeah.
Paris Hilton for president in 2020.
Oh my God.
You know it could happen. You got one reality star for a president now. We can have another.
He's really our second reality star. I mean, Reagan was kind of the first, really.
Yeah, but and he was also a real politician.
But he was a movie star turned politician.
Yeah, as opposed to just a reality star who's still a reality star.
True story.
Oh my God! Speaking of water things, like, you should always be careful when you're crossing water. Like, I'll never forget this story. A mutual friend of ours was talking about how, you know, one day she had heard that some dude had, like, taken his truck, and instead of, like, checking how deep it was, this is on the Cortez mine, he just guns it into the mud puddle and buries it up to the windows, gets out, and walks away.
Yeah.
And then she's like saying, "Oh my God, this stupid idiot, blah 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 blah," as they're giving this dude a ride. A ride. And then this guy's like, "Oh, that was me."
Wow.
And eventually they did end up dating.
Nice.
Yeah, so we both know them.
Okay then.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's also another thing, when you use a winch, don't just like wind it back. Make sure you wind it back right, because like on that project someone was trying to use a winch that these two girls had just like, they were afraid of like using it, so they just wound it back on. However.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't come back out because of how stupidly they wound it.
Oh my God.
Because they didn't want to touch like the wire.
Nice.
It's like, don't do that. Don't piss off people that way.
Yeah.
Especially when you're stranded.
Yeah.
Because, you know, if you plant the winch, you know you're screwed.
Yeah. True story. That's the water we were going through, and it was nice and clear, so we could at least see the bottom of it. You know, you always.
Were there fishies in it?
No, I didn't see it. It was too shallow for that, I think. But yeah, anytime I have to go through a thick puddle, a deep puddle, I'm either I'm either going to get out and honestly just walk through it a little bit, or poke through it and see what it's like, or if I can't see any features in there, because you don't know how deep it is.
Yeah.
Because the other thing is, especially out here in the West, that water turns the mud into like slick snot, and it covers your tires.
Yeah.
And if you go through too slow, you'll just spin.
Yeah.
So if you don't kind of push it through, then you could get stuck. But if you don't know how deep it is, you could get stuck anyway.
See? So, oh my God. I mean, I'm not going to mention their names, but I once remember someone was like, there was like, they were the last truck out. They were the last truck out of the project area, and they got stuck. And each truck is supposed to have a satellite phone because, by then they're like, there's no cell phone. And everyone obviously always turns off their radios as soon as they get to the car.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like, it's like January. It's basically cold.
Right.
And so they're looking through the truck, and there's no satellite phone because one of the vice presidents of the company we both worked for had taken it with him on a vacation to Thailand.
Oh my God. Nice.
So the two people in the truck have to get out and do an 18-mile walk to the closest civilization. And there were several times where one of them was just so exhausted after hiking all day, he just wanted to curl up and go to sleep.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. And so, moral of the story is always be careful when you're driving, and bring your own satellite phone.
It's a little expensive, I would say.
Or do what I do. I have a flare gun launcher in my vest. Although apparently now it is illegal to buy the flares for it for some reason.
That's weird.
Yeah, I can only get them from Canada.
Don't tell anybody. So we're about 20 minutes in,
really?
A little more. So let's we'll do a quick break since I'm not really calling breaks on this thing.
Yeah.
I still want to take the opportunity on our hour-long shows. We do 2 breaks usually, one at 20 minutes, one at 40 minutes, and they're usually for ads for the APN. So I'll just make it really short. But I will put out there, since we have this ability, since it's live.
Yeah.
If you want to sponsor this podcast and have your 30-second ad here. We base our ad costs based on the number of listeners, and since this show isn't even subscribable to yet, it's pretty cheap. So just contact me, Chris at archaeologypodcastnetwork.com, if you want to sponsor this, and we'll talk about your company, project, whatever, in this 30-second spot. So
wait, is this where I bring up, don't forget to listen to Audible?
We're not sponsored by Audible. So I'll just, not Squarespace. So I'll just promote real quick the Archaeotech podcast, only because I got some really cool stuff coming up on there. And arcpodnet.com/archaeotech, ARCHAEOTECH. We've got a great interview with a company called WildNote coming up next week, which will, I think, air Thursday. They're a digital form creation, field recording software. They've got some interesting ideas. I'll kind of get to the bottom of it, and I might have a special guest host for that one as well.
Will it be like a rotating thing where people get to decide who the new host should be?
God, I hope not. That's too much stress for me.
Really?
Yeah. I like to be consistent. Anyway, so the Archaeotech podcast, we've got that. And then if you've seen online lately, I've seen her really a lot more recently, but the woman behind archaeological analytics, check them out. She'll be on the Archaeotech podcast. We'll be interviewing her shortly, and I forgot to ask her how to pronounce her first name, but I think it's Acacia Berry. Yeah.
Wait, you mean like?
Yeah, that almost sounds made up. Yeah, but I think that's her real name.
Isn't there berries?
I know, but I think that's her actual name. Yeah, but she's really super cool, and she might actually become a co-host of the Archaeotech podcast, which would be fantastic, because she's really energetic. I like what she's doing with archaeological analytics. Archaeoanalytics is how she is on most of the socials. She's got a list of social media outlets there, like people's social media things, like a grid. And what really clued me into the fact that I liked her when I first started. I had a Skype call with her this morning. Was I looked at that page while she was talking, and my APN page was there, including the Instagram feed and the Twitter handle and the Facebook page and the website. And then also my own personal stuff through DigTech and my LinkedIn page. All that stuff was already on her grid.
I'm not sure if anyone can see that, but that's
probably
her
not.
Instagram.
Yeah.
And she has 123 followers.
Yeah, she's just getting off the ground, and they're posting some cool stuff. And we'll have her on the next episode, maybe not the next one, but an upcoming episode of the CRM Archaeology podcast, and then also the Archaeotech podcast. We're interviewing her on both shows because they're 2 different shows. So that was a longer ad than I anticipated for the Archaeotech podcast, but definitely subscribe and check that out because we got some really cool stuff coming up. So
cool.
And I see that Bernard Means is either watching or watched for a very brief period of time this podcast. Neat. So thanks, Bernard. That's pretty cool. Check out Bernard's Instagram feed too, because he's got some amazing 3D stuff on there from 3D printed artifacts. Yeah, they do. I'll have to look up his Instagram feed. Maybe I can't because my phone's over there. Maybe while Richie's talking, but it's a university. Virginia. Oh, VC. Virginia Curation Laboratory.
Oh, wait, I already follow them.
Yeah. Really awesome stuff. So, anyway, that was a quick plug for you, Bernard. Yeah. So you owe me $25 just for that. No, I'm just kidding.
You know what's crazy? Every once in a while, I meet interesting people at the bookstore. Like I was talking to someone who's buying like $100 worth of manga.
Manga?
Mm-hmm. And
I kind of know what that is.
That's the Japanese graphic anime novels.
Ah, right. Okay. Yeah.
Anyway, she was buying 100, or I guess she wasn't buying it. It was her grandpa buying it, and we were talking about her Instagram stuff, and she's like, "Yeah, follow me." So I go to follow her. This like 18 or 19-year-old girl's got 500,000 followers.
My God.
Yeah. So add yourself at Anime TV.
I wonder if she's the biggest Instagram celebrity in Reno.
Probably even more than Grammar Girl.
I don't know how many Instagram followers Grammar Girl has. I don't follow her on Instagram. I follow her podcast, and I know she has...
She has a podcast?
She's got like millions of followers on her podcast.
Really?
I mean, her podcast that's how she got big.
Oh.
And now she has books and all that stuff to go along with the podcast, grammar-related books. And I follow her on Facebook, too, and it's really cool. She has an article out a couple times a week on a very specific grammatical thing. I actually want to try to get her on one of the CRM podcasts, and we'll call it Provenience or Provenance. Learn your definitions.
Oh my God. Or what other words annoy me? Ephemeral.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. I remember we once spent 2 nights trying to figure out what the hell a Graben was without any phone connection.
I had to look that shit up before I knew what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly. Yeah. So I remember seeing it in the IMAX guide. Going, what the hell's a Graben?
See, that's why everyone knows that. It's like literally, we know anything without the IMAX guide.
So what's a Graben, Richie? Put you on the spot.
It's let's see, it's like a collapsed sort of valley caused, I think, by was it seismic activity where it just collapses?
It's not erosion because it's straight sides.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like a whole block of land that just falls down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ha!
There you go. You heard it here first, folks. Now you know what a Graben is. Graben, I believe. Nice.
Oh my God.
So I love that we can have the graphics on the...
Really?
Yeah, I'm not used to having video. It's great.
Ooh.
And I'm just watching myself 30 seconds in the past. It's fascinating. I hope my phone holds out. Just in case it doesn't, I apologize ahead of time. I didn't fully charge it. I had started with 54%, so we'll see how well it does.
And it doesn't take kindly to being charged while running.
It doesn't, because this room is too hot and it just overheats. So, anyway. So what else? What else did you do this week?
Oh my God. Well, I sent that letter to that dude, and I was actually having a talk with a biologist about this, because I have I have in my Dropbox.
Mm-hmm.
I have like what I call inquiry documents. So I have my resume in PDF and Word. My Beyond document of experience might take too long to explain what that is, because unless you are here in the West, you wouldn't even know what that is.
Or just Nevada. They're the only ones that use it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously that's why I have it. And stuff like that. And then I also have a standard inquiry letter where I just change some details. And she's like, no, I always write a letter from scratch. And I'm like, that is silly. Because, you really just need to change just the beginning and the end to make it more relevant. The center section where I'm selling myself pretty much stays the same.
Now, do you mean your cover letter when you say inquiry letter? Okay.
Yeah.
Because you're totally right. I have a whole chapter in my book on cover letters.
Yeah.
Well, at least the whole process. I don't know if there's a single chapter on cover letters, but at least it covers the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because the cover letter has very specific parts. The introduction, hi, my name is blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I found your post on this.
That's why I changed.
Yeah, and then, in the middle should probably never change. It's about you.
Yeah.
And then the end probably never changes because it's how to contact you, basically.
And it's also my availability.
And your availability.
Yeah.
So you'll update that.
Yeah.
And, I'll be available on August 1st to do whatever you want me to do. And then go from there. You're right. I mean, I when I was full-time, like, shuffle bumming, I've got still in my Dropbox, actually it might be my Google Drive before I went to Dropbox, but I've got a whole folder full of just cover letters for different companies.
Yeah.
I've got my template, and then I'll change it and save it for that company.
Yeah, see?
Yeah.
And I use Dropbox because it integrates well with Gmail.
Yeah.
Unlike Google Drive, which is weird.
So you can just put a link to that in
no,
there?
I just like copy and paste the cover letter, stick it in my Gmail,
there you go.
and then I can like link, and then I do send them links to my, my resume and stuff. But what was I thinking? The thing I added at the end that made it interesting was the fact that he was looking for people who could pass drug test, and not. Unfortunately, now that we are a freer state in a certain respect, not a lot of people can say that anymore because I don't make enough money to partake in such things. So I can totally pass a drug test. That's literally what I put down in the very end of my letter. I can totally pass a drug test. I have a clean driving record, and what else is there? Oh, I have my M-Shop. So that's like the other thing. It's like, my God, 2 days. Like, I had to sit through that terrible M-Shop class for 2 days, but now it might be more days. So it's moderately worth it.
Yeah. Let's talk about that real quick, because I don't want to dance around it. You're talking about marijuana legalization, and was legalized here in Nevada. I actually don't know the particulars that much, but it's basically recreational.
Yeah.
So you can have a certain amount, blah, blah, blah. And I heard this also, this is anecdotal evidence because I didn't watch the news or anything, but that they're actually running out. All the dispensaries are running out right now. Yeah. Anyway, that brings up a real interesting question. Because people think that now that because it's recreational, that they can just smoke it whenever they want. But if you're working for a company that does drug testing, or you're working for a company that works on mines or something like that,
and in
you
Nevada,
still
it's
can't.
all of them.
And it's all of them. Yeah, you still can't show up high. It's not to say you can't smoke off work or whatever. Maybe on your 4-day if you smoked on like a Friday. I don't know how long this stuff stays in your system, but
weeks.
Yeah, and so if you think it's just like alcohol. Alcohol's legal. But you can't show up to work drunk.
What? That could be news to so many old timers.
I mean, depending on what you're doing, you might get away with it. If you're just working on an excavation and you can just like fall asleep on your feature for a little while and pass out, maybe that'll work.
Dude,
but if you're
there are certain field techs who are famous for that. Like, I've got my vodka and orange juice.
Oh my God. Oh my God. So yeah, that's something to keep in mind, that if you partake in marijuana, that you can do it legally in a lot of Western states now. But you still have to be careful depending on where you're working and who you're working for and what you're doing. Because think of it just like alcohol. If you wouldn't go to work drunk, you probably shouldn't go to work high. Yeah. In that certain circumstance.
And like mines take that really seriously. And if you get the reputation as like that dude that like had an accident on a mine, suddenly companies are going to hear about that. Like, companies are always going to hear about stuff. I know,
and I know we want to keep the show lighthearted, but I got to bring up just real quick.
Yeah.
You always hear one of the biggest arguments for legalizing marijuana was that nobody's ever died from a marijuana overdose, right? That's what everybody always says. But it's not just death from overdose that's really the problem. It dulls your senses. Yes. It alters your state of being. If it didn't, people wouldn't smoke it.
See?
And, I grew up with with a family member of mine, with my mom. She was having problems with it all the time.
Yeah.
And she now still has memory problems, and she wasn't there for most of our childhood, really? Mentally, because of that. I mean, she was a hardcore smoker. I'm not talking about your recreational smoker.
Yeah.
She was a hardcore, user of that, and it really affected her. And mines are concerned with this because, I mean, I'll tell you what, I have never smoked anything before, so, clean and sober with all that. But I still make a left-hand turn on a fucking haul road and go into the wrong lane.
Yeah.
And that's clean and sober.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to remember, and if I'm just like all high, I don't know how it would affect me, and I don't know how it would affect you, but you need to have your senses about you. It's hard enough to remember the driving rules.
Reaction.
Hey, there you go.
Hello, whoever reacted.
But it's hard to remember those driving rules when you're, sober, let alone affected.
But bringing it back to the sort of lighthearted side, there was, one of the company we both worked for, they once had this dude on their crew. He was the brother of one of the most famous people in all of archaeology, so I'm not going to mention whose brother he is. Because, one of the most famous people in all of archaeology. And, the whole truck is basically full of smokers, and so, it's a company truck. They're like, they smoke every once in a while and just let the cigarette hang out the window.
Yeah.
And so this dude shows up super late and hungover and gets in the truck, and he's like, one other person's smoking his cigarette, and so he's like, you mind if I smoke? And they go, yeah, go ahead.
Wasn't a cigarette, was it?
No, he pulls out a crack pipe.
A crack pipe?
Yeah, and literally puts meth in it. I'm not even joking.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's next level right there.
Yeah, and he's like, and then as soon as he gets it light up, he's like, wants to be polite. So it's like, does anybody else want to hit? I'm not even joking. Everybody's
Do
like,
they have a trailer to carry his balls in? Because that's super ballsy.
well, when you're a brother of this dude, it doesn't really matter.
My
like,
God.
I can tell you after the show who it was, but you either probably already know him or know his brother.
My God.
You probably maybe even met him.
It's crazy. If you know who we're talking about, put it in the comments.
No, don't do that. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Just the people you meet in this business.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, just thinking about it. Not to bring back to the rant I wanted to open the show with, but I once remember someone was out with this girl. She had basically gone straight to her master's degree. It was like on her very first field tech job ever.
Worked for a few people like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, wait. Maybe you should tell the story about that girl.
The one I worked with in South Carolina?
No. The
Which
one when you were out with Old Ty and whatever her name was.
Oh my God.
You should tell that story about those two people.
Well, it's...
And maybe you should be slightly fitter.
It's interesting because, I mean, I'm just looking at myself on the video here and I don't look like the most fit person on the planet, but I've got some biking legs on me and I've got some, I can at least handle a 10-mile walk in the desert.
Yeah.
And I was on this project and I had two people on my crew, one of which I found out during, what was it, 110 degrees out there? I mean, it was ridiculous. It was August, I think.
And remember, his back was full of knives and machetes.
Yeah, so this guy was insane. It turns out, I mean, he was a big guy, which I don't judge people on that because if you can still do your stuff, I mean, somebody we know, Greg Meyer, who passed away recently, probably of a freaking heart attack, but I honestly don't know why, was a big guy.
Yeah.
But Greg, when I first saw him on a project, I was working on the Ruby pipeline.
Yeah.
And we were working on there, and I'm like, my God, how can this guy possibly do anything? Because we're out in the middle of nowhere doing all the miles. And
through the miracle of whatever that soda was he drank.
Mountain Dew. Dude, he was hooked on Mountain Dew. So, but he would just pour down the miles. He would just mow him down like nothing. Like this huge mountain man pouring down the miles. And then I found out his size actually became an advantage because when I first came up against a barbed wire fence and I was on one of his crews, I'm trying to figure out a way to go through it or under it. He just steps over the top of it because he was 6'5".
Oh my God.
Yeah. But anyway, these two people. So the guy was, I found out after, we were finding a lot of archaeology too. It was more than predicted. So we were supposed to be doing 35 acres a day and we were covering 7 acres a day or something because we were just finding site after site after site.
I remember that.
So I decided at some point on my crew, I'm trying to remember this if I remember this accurately, but I'm pretty sure I decided that we were going to just flag and run a bunch of stuff so we could figure out what we had. Because we were all decided of different crews, we were in different areas that we were going to record what we found. But we were just site, okay, let's record it, line up 30 meters, site, record it, line up 30 meters, site. It was total bullshit. And really all it was historic stuff running down these little finger channels from the primary site up above, honestly, but we didn't know that yet.
Oh.
Anyway, because I hadn't seen the background research for that either. Somebody else did it.
Wait, there's background research on that?
Go figure, right? Anyway, we get lined up and we start walking, and like I said, it was super hot out, so you had to be kind of prepared for this. But this guy, he kept stopping and getting bending over with his hands on his knees and just breathing hard. I'm like, what's going on, dude? And that's when I found out he's had 4 open heart surgeries or something like that, quadruple bypass and all these other things. So he just couldn't handle it. And then the girl, bless her heart, she was nice. I liked her. She was an okay person. She was fresh out of school though.
Yeah.
And she was just not prepared for high desert, high heat field work.
But she was a local student, so at least she should have been prepared for the weather.
She should have thought about that. Yeah, and I think personally that was a failing on my part as a crew chief.
Really?
And even you should never assume as a leader at any level.
Yeah.
And a crew chief is a leader, whether people like it or not. But you shouldn't assume at any level that the people working for you have a common understanding of the area they're going to be working in when you first start the project.
True.
Don't see it as don't belittle them some crews do. Some crew chiefs will be like, I've never worked with you, so I assume you're a freaking idiot, right? Don't do that. But say, have your safety briefing and tell the entire crew, listen, it's hot out.
Yeah.
Bring 5 liters of water. Bring, make sure you can do 8-10 miles at high altitude with low oxygen. I mean, even 6,000 feet is less oxygen than some people might be used to, unless they're from the area, which she was. And and I don't think we were too much higher altitude out there, if any.
No.
Probably the same.
No.
Yeah. So anyway, there was zero vegetation, zero trees, hotter than hell, and it was just some of the. I mean, it was probably right up there with some of the worst conditions we've worked in the Great Basin, which is heat and there was no break from the heat. I mean, there's never any shade.
No.
And it was just, and I feel like the rocks were just radiating back the heat, it was just horrific. Yeah, I mean, I was having a hard time, and I was ready for it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, everybody was. I wasn't even one of the crews. Maybe you were. That was up like in the hills, really having a hard time. At least where we were, it was kind of flat.
Yeah, we were actually up in the hills.
Yeah, I mean, you were even worse than I was. Yeah. At least we didn't have any hills to climb. We had these little finger ridges to climb, and that was easy compared to what you guys were doing.
And yet, oh my god. I mean, and didn't the old dude insist, because they originally hired him for the office, but he wanted to be in the field. Yeah. So sometimes you just have to know when you can't be in the field anymore. Like your heart might want to, but maybe the spirit might want to, but the body is not gonna make it.
It's very similar to some problems I deal with, because I'm a squadron commander of the Reno Composite Squadron of the Civil Air Patrol.
Yeah.
And we've got some older members that are in probably their 80s.
Yeah.
And a couple in their 90s.
Yeah.
And these guys, at least one of these guys, up until a couple of years ago, was still flying.
Really?
He was very aware of his senses. Everything was right there. But just a couple things were starting to fail on him, like his reaction time. I mean, this one guy who's like, I think he's 90 this year.
Yeah.
He's sharp as a tack, man. I mean, you talk to him, and it was like, it's like he was 20 yesterday. And like, he just remembers everything. He's got an amazing history. I want to record him just for posterity, right?
Do it.
And he's just an amazing guy. Had an amazing life.
Yeah.
But the squadron commander before me had to revoke his flying privileges. Now, they can't revoke his flying privileges from the FAA. That's up to the FAA to do. But...
Uh-oh.
I think we just lost the YouTube audience.
We did, but... Hold on.
While Richie changes batteries, we'll continue on for Facebook and for the audio.
Oh, but keep going on with your story.
But anyway, it's, you know, the former squadron commander before me had to basically revoke his flying privileges because we had a couple reports of him either being absent-minded about something or not thinking about something or not reacting quickly to something while in the plane. And we just couldn't abide by that, but from a safety standpoint. So, well, I don't know. We don't know the particulars. You know, it was always just little things like... Yeah. You know, when you're coming in for a landing and you're coming into what's called a traffic pattern, you're dealing with air traffic control, because Reno is what they call a controlled airport. So there's air traffic control, there's other planes, you have to have eyes on your traffic when they're telling you where it is. You have to do all these things. And then you have to be responding to air traffic control, responding to other aircraft, and then also at the same time following your checklist, bringing your airspeed down, putting your flaps where they need to be, doing all these things. And also the video is going to get a little bit shaky while Richie's adjusting his camera, so that's okay. So anyway, it's really difficult when you're in the moment to understand your own limitations, to understand when you're losing it. It's probably similar to anybody that's had to deal with a parent or grandparent that still drives, and telling them, hey, it's time to stop driving. And it's even worse for them because you can take away somebody's flying privileges, but they're not relying on flying to get them around everywhere, you know. But when you take away somebody's driving privileges, and it's like you can't drive anymore, you have to rely on somebody else to get you from point A to point B. That's a real tough thing to handle. And it's the same with field work. Like Richie was saying, at some point you're going to have to realize that your knees can't handle it anymore, your back can't handle it anymore, your body can't handle it anymore, and you just have to keep going. So, you know, you have to figure out something else to do, which is probably why it's smart as an early career archaeologist to really be thinking about the future and to be thinking about, okay, how can I work myself into a position of actually doing less field work? You might love the field work, but what skills can you acquire to put yourself in a position where, you know, you won't have to be in the field as much, you know, and those skills probably revolve around report writing and maybe analysis. You can get yourself into a lab position.
Although Greg Meyer thought he was getting into a position where he wouldn't have to be in the field as much, but then he died in the field.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes
he was older.
Sometimes just unavoidable.
He was probably over 50, wasn't he? Yeah. Because
Also, on a complete unrelated side note, my first job for the company we both worked for is where I first met Greg Myers, and we were in the 47s. And
Eureka.
Yeah.
No, Ely.
Ely.
Yeah.
And he was the first person I had ever seen shotgun a beer, and he had that giant beard, so the beer was going all down his giant beard and down his shirt.
Did he drink any of it?
I don't know, maybe like a third of it. But it was awesome.
Nice.
Oh man, thank God I've still got alcohol.
I know. I'm just realizing I look like a total goober when I drink out of a straw. Like I'm looking at myself on the video there. Like I don't like the video. I'm like all manly and shit, and like blah blah blah, and then I'm like, I suck on that straw like a ridiculous person. All right.
Oh, interesting. We still recording?
So we're still recording over here, and we're at about 46 minutes. So I'll do our last break real fast,
cool.
And I'll just make one more shout out officially to the member site, arcpodnet.com/members. The promo was at the beginning of this episode if you're listening to the audio broadcast, which I'm hoping will be out this week. I said that last week, but now that Richie has the logo done, I have the pages ready to go.
Cool.
Most of the episodes are edited, and then we just had to make it available for a subscription. So anyway, but for the member site, arcpodnet.com/members will immediately add you to the Slack team at any level. And if you don't know what Slack is, it's a team communications program. Yeah. And we'll immediately add you to that. And we're actually getting some really good conversations on a couple of the channels about different episodes. Like the Heritage Voices channel with Jessie Aquinto. There's a couple of people in there talking to her about some of her episodes. Yeah, it's really cool. And then we've got, for the standard and professional members, which are the next 2 levels up, we have high-quality downloads if you're willing to that. And the benefit to the high-quality downloads is that you also get them early. Like the minute I get an episode edited, it goes into the high-quality downloads section. It doesn't go on the schedule. So we're about a week ahead on that channel, and you get access to that right away.
You should say that the other way around. Like you get early access to episodes, and they're higher quality.
Well, there you go. Yeah. Better said. Yeah. So you get early access and they're high quality. I don't like to emphasize the early access because that's only if I'm on top of my shit. Sometimes it's at the same time access.
That's like one of my favorite podcasts. Like when one of the hosts edits, everyone knows to expect it to be late. But when the other host edits the podcast, it's on time.
Listen, it's only because I've got like 20 shows to edit, so it's a lot. Which will be great when Richie takes over because then we should be way ahead.
We'll see.
We'll see. Yeah, I'm trying to get about a week ahead, so when Richie takes over, he's already a week ahead.
Oh, good.
And then we don't have to worry about that. So anyway, that's the pitch for arcpodnet.com/members. For professional members, we'll have T-shirts and coffee mugs and some learning content coming in August. Some really cool stuff coming up. And then every month after that, we'll be adding new things to that site. And then I'm trying to train my podcast hosts to limit their actual shows to the time frame that they said, because a lot of times if they've got an engaging interview, they'll go over on that, and they'll because Heritage Voices, the last episode went like an hour and 15 minutes.
Really?
But I'm telling them, cut your show at an hour, and then the extra 15 minutes is bonus content, and that goes on the member site.
It depends on how they're recording. Like, how are they recording?
You mean software?
Yeah, like are they just recording straight to their hard drive? Because with me, I know that I have about 17 minutes worth of video left, and when that happens, that we're not going to have any more show. And that just died again.
And it just died again.
Well, whatever. Happens.
All right.
Audio.
So anyway, I think they're recording right to their hard drive, so, on their computers most of the time.
Neat.
Yeah, so it should be fine. But either way, that's my pitch for arcpodnet.com/members.
Yeah.
Check that out. And even if, honestly, I would be super happy if 1% of the people listening to this went over and just paid the $5 a month to become a supporting member. We'll send you an APN sticker.
Yeah.
So you'll get that at least, and I'm not going to send any of the ones out right now because I'm having new ones made. The ones I have now suck, and I'm not going to send those to you because it's not worth it.
Really?
I hate them. The ones I had done here in town. Oh. It's because I screwed up, and I didn't understand what they were giving me, and it's really more of a shipping label sticker. Like it's on a round roll, and did I give you one of those?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like those. I mean, it's fine. The one on the back of my truck is working well, but the one I have on my coffee mug or my travel mug is all faded off, and they're just not high quality stickers.
APN travel mugs? Is that coming soon?
Maybe soon. I don't know. We'll see. We're gonna have a lot of stuff in the store hopefully, but I got to find a place to basically supply all these things. So anyway,
APN Nalgene.
All the things. I want all the stuff. Anyway, so that's it. Go and join. Like I said, even if you're just a supporting member, you're supporting us, and you're making it so we can do these things because none of this comes free technically.
Interesting.
So I mean, with a mixer, everything costs money. So.
And for the YouTube audience, the video Video quality is going to change because the last half of the last 20 minutes are going to be ripped straight off of Facebook.
Nice. Can you download that video? I know I can.
Yeah, well, I mean, it depends, because I use a special program that actually, like, will record what's on my computer screen.
Oh, yeah.
So I just play it on YouTube, on Facebook, and then it just records it straight to my hard drive.
Well, you can either do that or just ask me, and I think I can download the file.
Really?
And then just hand it to you. I'm pretty sure I can do that, yeah.
Cool.
So, because it's my file.
Take forever.
Well, that's true. All right, so I don't think we really talked much about what I did this week.
Oh, yeah.
Because mostly what I did was edit podcasts.
Woo, that's something, though.
I know. I did a bunch of interviews. I'm supposed to be focusing on report writing this week, but I didn't do any of it.
What?
Yeah, but the reason is because I'm trying to get ahead, and I'll be able to focus on a little bit next week when I set you up for editing, which is, like I said, that's what I've been trying to focus on.
Yeah.
So that's probably what I'll be doing while you're editing podcasts.
But maybe you should describe to people what your routine is for report writing for all the people who think they're just going to set up an archaeology business and like it's going to be super easy.
Well, there's two things you got to do first. One, you have to look at the scope of work.
Yeah.
And from the agency or client or whatever it is, and make sure you understand what the requirements are.
Yeah.
Like, what are your requirements? Like, for example, on one of the projects I recently did that was already a National Register site. It's not nominated. It's on the National Register.
Yeah.
And we were just recording another length of it. It's the Applegate Trail.
Neat.
So you can look that up. Or listen, I did a short segment in ARC 365, so just search Applegate Trail on there and you'll find it. So for that, because it was already well known, we didn't have to do the historic context section. But that was in the scope of work. If I hadn't read the scope of work, I would have spent a week writing this ridiculous historic context that's already a repeat of what they already have.
Yeah.
So we didn't do that. So look at your scope of work first, because that'll tell you exactly what you need to do. Now, if you happen to work for the BLM, or you're doing a project on BLM land, or something like that, or usually Forest Service land too, and maybe some other agencies that just adopt the BLM standards, depending on where you're at, which happens a lot, then the BLM in Nevada puts out an outline for your report. So, they have the outline already for you. So the first thing I'll do, I already have it. I have a template on my computer that's basically a BLM report outline.
Yeah.
So it's got all my information in there. It's got the headers and footers. It's got my style guide for heading 1, heading 2, heading 3. Use headings. If you don't know what the hell I'm talking about, call me, send me a message, something. I'll save your life by telling you how to use headings.
Or Google.
Or Google. I've got blog posts on Word for Archaeologists too on Random Acts of Science. Because if you don't know how to use headings, I swear to God, it'll save your bacon if you don't know how to use it. But anyway, so I set up the template first, and then I do all the easy stuff. I do all the fill-in. I do all the boilerplate stuff. Anything that I can just copy and paste. I do all the things that are just like the methods section, all that stuff. If we've already got the site records done, then a lot of times for the results section where you'll have like a paragraph about each site, a lot of times that's just copy and paste the first paragraph from the site record.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'll just copy and paste all those in to have them, and then go through and read them and modify them to make sense for the report. And then the historic context is often one of the most difficult sections to write, because depending on the size of your project area, you might have a lot to write about and synthesize all these resources. On the other hand, if you're working for a bigger company and you've already worked in that valley, you can just pirate that from another report. Yeah. That's what people do. That's why it's called boilerplate. They have these historic contexts that they've already written for the company. It's not plagiarism. Your company did it. Yeah. So you just copy and paste and adjust as necessary. Yeah. Check current resources. Like I had boilerplate for that company Richie and I worked for a while ago. The paleo stuff I knew was slightly inaccurate because I remember hearing, actually I think it was a podcast, and then I read the report, Paisley Caves in Oregon. Yeah. So the paleo stuff for our boilerplate wasn't updated to include that information. So I updated it. Yeah. So I do all that, bring in the boilerplate, and then you have to write, in your results section, there might be some interpretation, but then you have conclusions, basically, and management recommendations. That's the stuff where it's going to be different for every report. Yeah. You have to say, for your conclusions, and also your, what's that section called? It's usually...
Treatment plan? I don't
know. Well, there could be a treatment plan if you're doing, depending on what you're doing, but there's the section, honestly, I just wrote it, I can't remember what it's called. But it's where you basically lay out your research questions. Neat. And the research questions are based on the historic context. Yeah. So if you're like for the Applegate Trail, our biggest context that we were concerned with was transportation.
Yeah.
Because it's a road, basically. So our research questions were based around, what can we learn about the daily lives of the people that were traveling this road? What can we learn about the types of vehicles they were using on this road, in this case wagons? What can we learn about modern use of this road? And by modern I mean just anything after the typical use of the Applegate Trail. What can we learn about those things? And then what you're supposed to do is then go through, okay, now here's the results, and then in the conclusions or in another section after that, you're basically like, okay, did we answer our research questions?
Did you?
And for the most part, yeah. We had answers. Whether they were, good answers, I can't tell you.
Well, I mean, before we run out of time, like, I was talking to one of my friends who works for the BLM, and his biggest complaint is that people don't follow the agency guidelines. And it's like, maybe you should explain why that's important. Because, like, certain people, just, like, especially new people, don't seem to get it. Or they follow maybe their company guidelines or whatever they wrote in college.
Well, before I do that, N. Tintin Carroll on Facebook said, great show, lads.
Yay!
So,
Thank you.
Thank you. But yeah, that goes back to scope of work, though.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the first thing I said, is check the agency guidelines. Yeah. Because in the scope of work for a Nevada BLM project, it says, it'll tell you exactly what your deliverables are and whether or not there's any modifications to that. But in Nevada, and in most states, I would imagine, there's also the guidelines and standards for doing archaeology in Nevada.
And yet, how many people ignore that?
Yeah, I know. So, more than likely what it's going to say in the scope of work is, deliver us a draft report and then a final report based on the 2012 Nevada Guidelines and Standards. So you have to go back and read that document. Yeah. And if that document references any documents, you have to go look at those documents. Yeah. And you basically just do what it says.
Yeah, and yet my friend was pointing out that at least half the reports he gets are just, like, not to those guidelines. He's like, dude, we even make an outline. Like, how hard, like, why are people so stupid?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't understand.
It's ridiculous. I know, I heard somebody talking, I was talking to an agency archaeologist a while back.
Yeah?
I think they worked for the Carson City BLM district or something like that. But anyway, I was talking to this person, and one of her biggest complaints was the GIS data.
Ah.
Yeah, because the
GIS... know her, right?
Possibly. I don't know if it's the same person or not. Yeah. But anyway, one of the things it says right in the guidelines, it tells you exactly the columns and attributes you need in your attribute table for your GIS data. Yeah. And, like, no one does it.
Really?
Yeah. But the thing is, they don't have any enforcement power. They can't, like, come back to somebody and they can suggest and they can come back and say, hey, you forgot to put all this in your GIS data, but most of the time they don't because they don't have the time.
Wait, can they at least reject a report or send it back?
They almost never do, though.
Really?
They'll only do that. I mean, they'll make comments in the draft period where they say, hey, fix all this stuff. But if somebody just submits a final report with substandard, I mean, if the GIS data is, like, missing or inaccurate, they'll say something. But if the attribute table's missing information, it doesn't have the right columns, they won't always say something because they've got 25 other reports that need to be reviewed yesterday. Yeah. So they just don't have the time. And I asked her, I was like, how often do permits get pulled? Like a full BLM permit? Yeah. And she's like, almost never.
What?
Yeah, it only happens if somebody's really messing up and really being unethical with their stuff. And at that time, it only happened, to her knowledge, like twice in the last 10 years.
Ooh.
Yeah, a whole entire company's permit got pulled.
Right. Is the company still in business?
I have no idea. She didn't tell me who they were.
Damn it.
Yeah.
Fine.
So...
I was about to make fun of them.
But they're probably not. Usually it's the like mom and pop organizations that will get their permit pulled.
Interesting.
But anyway, we've only got we only got a minute or two left.
Do we?
Yeah, let's wrap up because we want to try to keep this to an hour. So
yeah.
And Tintin Carroll, I hope I'm saying that right. Shared out the video, so that's great.
Cool.
That's awesome, and
we always appreciate that.
I know, and I would say anybody else, feel free to leave comments if you want us to talk about anything. We're just here. Yeah. Yeah, we're just here to talk about whatever. So there's no real goal for the show.
And more importantly, it's always nice to engage the community because, like most of the podcasts I follow are like Twitch broadcasts where they're like have like always talking with the community.
Yeah,
if that makes any sense.
I would love for this show to be like a question and answer show.
Yeah, and I'm hoping at some point maybe to get a new iPad or something and maybe do YouTube Live.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I could bring in probably an additional device to do YouTube Live on.
Neat.
Yeah. So we'll work that out. I also wanted to kind of do stuff here at the Reno Collective. We have a new space back there that we call the Makerspace, and we might be setting that partly up for different things. But I would love to record this show in there. And if we had anybody that happened to be in Reno, they could be like our live studio audience.
Or a guest.
Or a guest.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if anybody's ever seen TWIT, This Week in Tech is what it stands for, but the TWIT network, Richie and I actually run a project, and we went down to their studio and sat in on a recording.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was cool. Great. It was really cool. So they were doing a video podcast. We were in the background. We didn't say anything. We weren't guests.
No.
We weren't asking any questions, but we got to watch them do the show.
Yeah. We got to see Mr. What's-His-Name's office.
Laporte.
Yeah.
Leo Laporte, yeah. So anyway, that was really cool. Yeah. We've got 5 live viewers right now. Thanks, everybody.
That's the most ever.
I know. Give us a like. And
don't forget to share.
I know, and we'll hopefully by the time we speak next, we'll have this up for so you can subscribe to the audio if you can't make the video.
And one of these days, we're going to have a completely completely goods-free program.
That's a tall order.
I know.
Yeah. So, and I'm still hoping to. I haven't had time this week to do the research again. Richie's going to save my ass next week. But I'm hoping to have the proper audio out of this mixer to run to my phone, so we can have these mics coming out of the mixer and going into Facebook Live for better audio.
Oh man.
Yeah. So.
Because I was going to suggest the same thing for my camera.
Well, and if we can get the right outputs, we should be able to go to both.
Yeah.
So that shouldn't be a problem. So anyway, I think that's it.
Man, I had so much I wanted to talk about we didn't get to. So don't forget to check in next week.
That's right, and check out.
Like I'm not even joking. Like all this.
I know. Check out arcpodnet.com/YCTA once we get it set up. Again, that's not live this minute if you're watching live. Yeah. And then also on YouTube.
Yeah, don't forget to check in on Happy Archaeology Fun Time. And the APN page, I assume? If you want to watch the Facebook Live.
Yeah. If you're watching this now, then you already know. If you're on the YouTube channel, Archaeology Podcast Network on Facebook, just search it, and then you'll get the notifications. We do every Friday at 3 p.m., hopefully. And yeah, we should do that. And then also on the show notes page for these episodes, once they do go live, which hopefully will be soon, I'm also not only linking to Richie's YouTube page, but the video is also on that page, so you can watch right there at the same time.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So, which is great because you get the credit for that, and it stays on the APN page, so you can see the show notes if we have any. Yeah. And it's all right there. Yeah. So it's great.
And sometimes there's more on the YouTube channel, sometimes there's less, like today. We'll see.
You never know. You never know. So I'm surprised my phone kept going. I probably have 4%.
Really?
So, yeah. All right. Well, thanks, everybody.
Yeah. See you next time.
We'll see you next week.
We should come up with something like an actual close.